We've started today with a bang as a laser has gone through to the winners match, defeating the reigning champion 2-1. A fantastic result for the young man. Joining us now on the desk is In Control and Toddle, joining us still.
Little known fact, Sean, lasers don't make bang sounds. They're silent.
What do they make?
They make a silent sound.
More like pew pew.
No, that's only in comic books and action movies.
We are in a comic book and an action movie, Jeff. That's what we do on the desk. Don't hold hands, boys.
Touched hands there.
A fantastic start, Todd, that we didn't really expect to see, and it's brilliant for him. He's so happy about it, and that can really give him the confidence to go through in the winners match.
Absolutely, and sometimes, I guess we've talked a little bit about how you go into a match, you really don't expect anything. You're like, I'm going to get crushed, and then that's when you play your best, and I really feel like this is what might have happened here out of Laser, who played out of his mind, basically.
Yeah, well, he goes through to the winners match. We can take a quick look at the bracket one last time here to have a look at our next game upcoming. We're going down to the second match of the evening in Group C, and it is going to be Polt playing against his old friend viOlet. These guys have traded wins and losses over the years, and now they play head-to-head in an exciting match, which can really go either way. The last time that they played, it was a viOlet victory just about a week ago, which you were there for in America. And viOlet is coming into this one confident as well.
I started playing game at elementary school. When I was middle school, I joined the Warcraft 3, and I figured it out there's pro gaming in the games, so my dream was pro gamer. So I was thinking about, should I go to military? And that time, StarCraft II just boom. I'm like, oh my god, this is probably my game. And you know, the time is perfect. So I started StarCraft II, and you know, this macro-micro thing, everything was completely crushed my heart. So I really dive into StarCraft II. When I play versus Terran, I just like smile automatically. But now I feel like I little getting to know about ZvT now, so if I practice more, it's gonna be no problem every matchup.
viOlet joins us in the season finals for the first time in a year now. He's a player who's had a lot of ups and downs, Todd, but he's starting to rise once again.
Absolutely, and his recent victory against Polt just 9 days ago in Seattle goes to prove that. Rumor has it Polt wasn't in his best condition, but viOlet put on a hell of a good performance there against Polt, who I think he usually most of the time didn't particularly do well against.
viOlet is a player with tons and tons and tons of experience. He's one of the most experienced players we have in the Premier League, and he knows what it takes to be a winner, Jeff.
These two, Polt and viOlet, carved up North America and decided to be kings of different regions of it. In my mind anyways, it was that epic. But yeah, they've been winning over here for a long time. viOlet was actually in Korea, didn't have the best success, transferred over to North America and won here. He won in Europe, and he won in Korea some as well. He's just exploded into one of the absolute best that we have to offer.
And he's slowly becoming a favorite to advance really deep in this tournament. He's starting to get the form back that he definitely has lost in the last 6, 9, 12 months, a lot of people can argue. But it's slowly coming back to him.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of a break, maybe a slump, the slump that comes with it usually, because StarCraft is a very hard game. You know, when you step away from it, you stop playing for a few months, then your skill's gonna take a little bit of a dip. We all know about this. But then came back really strong.
I would say.
Came back really strong, yes, just like me, and he's been putting, I think, some good performances in some of the tournaments he attended just 9 days ago. Once again in Seattle, he was able to finish first of that group where he played first against Polt and then I think against Betrayus in the winners match.
Beating Polt, by the way.
Beating Polt, who's back for revenge today. He joins us in Poland as the Season 1 champion and an overall 3-time WCS champion. This is Polt.
First time when I moved to America, I was honestly thinking about to retire soon, but having this WCS tournament changed everything. It made me keep playing this game, and I think it just built my almost everything right now I have. My goal for the season finals is definitely winning another trophy. To be honest, I don't know much about Polish StarCraft fans. Well, I know there are a lot of good Polish players, So I assume there should be a lot of Polish fans too. The worst way to lose a game is, in my opinion, just not showing what I have prepared.
Preparation is key for a lot of players, and this guy knows exactly how to prepare for a group, for a series, for a tournament. He is the most successful player within the Premier League, and he returns for another season.
He's kind of impervious to the meta, and I think that's a big part of his success. He doesn't really rock himself. There's not that, oh, remember back when Polt was super cheesy, or remember when he was way into Sky Terran or something like that. No. This guy has always had kind of a general philosophy of being high-octane pressure, army in different places, marauders blowing stuff up, and I think that that's been working pretty well for him.
Absolutely, yeah. He has this style where like he plays sort of standard, but definitely had his own touch to it. You know, the Polt Vikings, we all know about them, we all know about how solid he is, about everything, transitioning, getting his upgrades going and all that, and it's been his biggest strength, I feel, over the course of his career.
I mean, one thing that always stands out about Polt is that he never dies easily. I think we've seen in many different Premier League tournaments, he refuses to give up, and that kind of resilience has turned series around, and he's going to be going into this wanting that revenge from last week, where he wasn't in the best condition, and he feels like he is today again.
Yeah, even though you say that, and I agree with you, the last time that they played, he actually died kind of easily. He got attacked by roaches early on. It was Bridgeheads, I think one of the maps where he just got attacked from the back rocks with a lot of roaches, just kind of died pretty much immediately. He wasn't going for Banshee, he went for Medivac because he wanted to drop, but died before. And map number 1 was Terraform, and then same thing, he lost a lot of SCVs and units to the initial Roche attack and then fell apart from the Mutas and Banelings that viOlet transitioned into.
Well, Polt thinks that the only player in the entire Premier League that can beat him this season is Hydra, so we'll see how true those words really are. The map veto is now ready. We can take a quick look at how we're going and where we're going for this best of 3 series. And over the years, this has been a best of 5, it's been a best of 7, but today it is merely a best of 3. Cactus Valley is the opening map, and then Coda and Terraform map number 2 and number 3.
viOlet is a guy that is known to mix things up in all the matchups, but in ZvT as well. He will do the roaches, as we heard just from Todd a minute ago, talking about his recent success against Polt. So on Cactus Valley, a 4-player map, more large, kind of wide open. This is a map where that is kind of a possibility. You can hide some strats. You could proxy Aspire, although I don't know that viOlet wants to get that fancy. We'll have to wait and see.
What, do you think this map pool here favors anyone? Is it an aggressive to begin with, aggressive later? Which side do you like it for?
I think it's definitely better for Polt compared to what they played last time, and he vetoed Bridgehead. I mean, he remembered that these roaches getting through the back door and killing him. So Cactus Valley, as much as, you know, we talk a lot usually about how Zerg on big maps where there's a lot of expansions, they're going to be happy to play these kind of maps. Terran versus Zerg has changed a lot, and Polt, as you said, he doesn't die, he keeps on expanding, and as long as he can go up to 4 bases, he's had some epic games against Zerg recently, against Petraeus in particular, in that one tournament in Seattle, where on Iron Fortress he had 4 bases, and he was fighting against like 6 to 7 bases and Ultras for like the longest amount of time before eventually dying. So he's hard to kill.
Well, let's look at the prediction to see who thinks going to die in this one, because, of course, as mentioned before, we are following the progress of all the commentators, hosts, and observers throughout the week. And we will, at the end of the winners match, check in with the results to see who is where and who's leading and who is really bad at predicting. A lot of people...
And who's a terrible friend, because you keep on hanging out with Polt and you say all these nice words to him, but yet you predicted viOlet.
Yeah, but he's not listening right now. He's got a headset on.
Illustrate there.
4v4, 50-50. Very split between all of us, and I think that's actually kind of accurate. I think this is a very 50-50 matchup, right?
Well, I think at some point all of us band together and we're like, look, guys, we can't all be wrong ever again. So please half of us are going to be correct on this one.
We don't have the best of track record so far, that is for sure. We are not doing the best. But this one really can go either way, Todd.
Yeah, I think so. These two, again, they have so much history together, and it's really, I feel, going to come down to who's in better shape today, this very day. They both definitely prepared for this. They both showed a lot of confidence, actually, which isn't always necessarily the case. Like sometimes, you know, you ask a player how you're feeling. He's like, I feel good.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but
If I'm
probably
lucky
not.
today, maybe I should get a win.
Both of
Whereas-
them have said that they are both feeling really good.
ViOlet backstage was like, I got this. Like he was
Yeah.
like fist bumping with Marine Lord. I was like, whoa. He's very confident.
Yeah. And Polt said the same when he was up here on the desk as well. He actually expected, obviously, to play a laser, not a laser, but expected to play Hydra. But we'll see how this is going to shape up as we are about to go into this one. We're going to head to the commentary team to see which way this is going. This is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an epic one. Let's begin.
A classic matchup of two Korean players that have been dominating in the North American scene for the last few years, Roddy. But now we're in a pretty weird place in this group here in the World Championship Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I looked at this best of 3 and I was like, man, it's another viOlet versus Polt encounter. Always fun to watch. They've played against each other so much. The score is 25 to 23 maps in favor of Polt, 8 and 8 in series. But I thought, you know, they look at this series and be like, well, if we win this series, we're going to go up against Hydra. That's going to be very tough. That's not the case anymore. That makes this best of 3, in my opinion, 10 times more important. And 10 times more interesting as well.
Yeah, that's right. There is a lot on the line as you do not want to have to lose this and end up against Hydra. And a little bit of love going out there to the Polish viewers tuning in. Thank you guys so much. We are loaded into map number 1, though. It's time to find out who will take first blood in this series. In the Northwest position, we have the blue Terran player. It's Captain America, CM Storm's Polt. We're showing some love to the American fans. Those of you who are... Good morning, America.
And over here in the right bottom side of Cactus Valley, of course, the red Zerg player, it is viOlet. viOlet knows how to turn himself into a crowd favorite, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is... We talk about how cool it would be for some of these Polish players, especially considering how weird this group has gotten with a laser making it into the winner's match, possibly with just a couple maps, 2 maps away, theoretically, from going to the big stage in Krakow.
I mean, this is something we've said very often, but the last thing you ever want to do is drop your first best of 3, and then in the lower bracket match you have Hydra waiting for you.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Hydra or Jaedong or even someone like Bunny or Snoot, or, you know, those are just guys you want to avoid in lower bracket matches. Those are the absolute best players in general within WCS. Of course, there's a little bit of variance every single season, but Hydra, you know, he's the runner-up of Season 1. He's the champion of Season 2. There's nobody who wants to play him in the lower bracket match in the round of 16. So this is a massive best of 3. It was a cool best of 3 at first, but now it's an incredibly important best of 3 for both Polt and viOlet.
Yeah, it was really interesting for me getting ready, you know, as this weekend came up. I'm like, okay, well, Hydra certainly steps up as one of the strongest, if not, in my opinion, the strongest player, period, competing in WCS this weekend. And now for either one of these guys, as good as they are, if you lose this, you're just thrown into the pit, you know. This isn't like you're climbing out trying to take out in a laser who, you know, got in, you know, in probably the most last-minute fashion possible. Whereas Hydra is, as you said, the last guy you would want to play in this tournament.
Yep, and I also wonder, like, if Hydra's even thinking, would I rather play against Polt, would I rather play against viOlet, and not a ZvT, you know, after that ZvT just didn't go that well against Elazen, so he's probably a little bit nervous as well, probably watching this series. Either way, we're loaded into Cactus Valley. That's going to be our very first map over here. It's going to be a command center on the high ground for now, so Polt opening up very safe and very conservative. I was there as well last week when these two players played against each other. And the interesting fact is, yes, viOlet won that series, but the last 6 series before that one all went into favor of Polt. So Polt was on a massive winning streak against viOlet. So it's very nice that he finally caught some momentum and finally broke that negative streak that he was in.
Yeah, I think the thing about Polt is we also have to take into account, you know, now we're in the World Championship Series. We're going for, you know, that big stage to finish up Season 3. And I feel like one thing that's always kind of defined Polt is the bigger the tournament, the more that's at stake, the better he performs. You know, he steps up as soon as whatever is on the line increases, he just gets better immediately.
Yeah, that's definitely true, Nate. I mean, name it, and Polt has pretty much won it, other than BlizzCon, which he's still dreaming of, but he's won everything, man. The GSL Super Tournament, multiple WCS championships, MLG, you know, he's been everywhere. He's been such a successful player, but these are the tournaments in general where he does shine, where he does bring that X factor that we always know Polt has.
And I also really like that the boys at the desk mentioning, you know, Polt is a very meta-resilient player, and I would still be surprised, you know, if this was any other Terran player. I'm like, okay, well, Mech is really strong. I expect to see a lot of Mech play. Polt has, he's been adamant about it. I think we even asked him about it in the round of 32, and he's just like, you know, I don't really feel like it's that overpowered. It's like, I don't really need to use that. I prefer my fast bio play. And he doesn't bend to the whim of wherever other Terran is taking the game.
I think Polt is also the type of player that even when he knows that maybe Mech is a tiny bit stronger right now than Bio on some of these maps, it's still better to do something that you're very good in, that may not necessarily be the best strategy, than to do something that is considered to be the best strategy, but that just doesn't really fit within your playstyle, within your strengths. Like,
if there's one thing that doesn't define Polt when you think about him, it's you know, being in the corner Terran.
Yeah, exactly.
the corner Terran with Ravens and tanks.
That would feel so unusual. I'm glad we got the players in our side, because the moment I will see Polt turtle up, well, I just don't believe it's Polt anymore.
Yeah. It's like he actually had an Ushanka in his luggage. He's getting ready to play some mech.
Kept all the Hellions at home, took care of those first few links that viOlet tried to be annoying with. Sometimes you can sneak them in when the Hellions are cruising in the middle of the map. But that's not going to be the case. This one very brave link does get the final hit off on that SCV. So that's nice, but viOlet has a very good idea of what's going on. And what's interesting to mention as well is that there is no third CC yet for Polt. Often on these very big maps, Polt goes extremely economic, right? Rushes straight into 3 CCs, and then he doesn't have that much at home. Now I think he might throw down one more, but either way it's pretty safe. He's getting stim before all that. He doesn't want to die against another very early roach push.
Yeah, I mean, this is a play where he can also try to abuse that fast wall off in this quick Spire build, because without a Baneling nest, if he's able to get these Marines inside of this main and get a couple of good shots off on these Zerglings, could actually do a lot of damage, and the Marines will get cleaned up very quickly. viOlet very aware of the movement around his base, so no harm, no foul.
Nope, that actually went very good for viOlet. That was a beautiful engagement for those links. They got so much surface area on all of those Marines, and the Hellions from the low ground. You know, this is not Coda. Those Hellions won't just shoot up to the high ground here on Cactus Valley. So I'd say so far so good for viOlet, who's banking quite a bit of money, but of course he's waiting for that Spire to finish up. Gets a very important scout done there. Of course he is going to lose these Overlords, as Polt will always make that single Viking, but he at least knows that there is no third CC yet.
Yeah, well, that's one of the most characteristic things about Polt's play, is that, you know, regardless of whether there's, you know, a third CC under construction, most Terran players in the greedy meta that we see today would already have it done and dropping mules out of the sky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he saw Rex number 2 and 3, and I don't think he actually saw both E-Bays. I'm sure that he's expecting them, but he didn't spot them yet in the back of his main. But I mean, he had a feel. He saw that the third CC wasn't done yet, like you said. Sometimes you already see Reigns.
For a Terran transitioning into a bio-based play, you need engineering bays. He wants to get the upgrades, wants to keep those Marines as a very powerful force in looking to bring this game forward. And these Hellions, as nice as they're trying to push this creep back, the Mutalisks will end the map presence for Polt. And it's cross spawns. He's got a long way to go if he wants to bring his Marines across.
One thing I think is very nice here for viOlet is that this is indeed cross spawn. And if you compare viOlet, for instance, to Patreus, Patreus is the type of Zerg that's extremely good late game, right? Give him Infestus, Banelings, Queens, Vipers, and Ultralisk, and he will handle it like almost no other Zerg. viOlet has a very different type of style. I feel viOlet has always been more of a counter-attacking Zerg, of a Zerg that runs across the map, tries to intercept reinforcements, and you know, this being cross-map Coda, there should be a lot of opportunity for that.
Yeah, viOlet's the kind of guy that will, as the game progresses forward, build up that Mutalisk count and wait for you to try to leave your base. Like, okay, if you want to push me, well, you know, I have some creeps right out, I have a lot of Banelings at home, maybe some Roaches, as viOlet loves to build those too, and just go ham on you, really force you to commit to making a big play.
I think that viOlet is very happy with how this game went so far, Nate. He's been up 21 to 30 drones for the longest amount of time. You know, he has his third base saturated, hasn't lost a single worker yet. He keeps track of these Hellions. You know, definitely viOlet has a lot of freedom right now.
The third command center, you know, it just came into play so late in this game, and now it's planted down just starting to mine here at 11.5 minutes, but he didn't take any damage from that early medevac play, which delayed the stim, and with the medevacs also being delayed, like, Polt just has to wait so long before he can put any pressure on viOlet that viOlet is, as you said, free and very comfortable to be in a great spot.
And he's going to have a lot of units now. He's going to throw down that macro hatchery. So the first time that Polt is going to leave his main, for the first time, he's actually going to try that little parade push across the map. There's a very good chance that viOlet will start counter-attacking immediately. And even just 10 to 15 links, you know, if there's an exposed mineral line, those links will go to town.
Yeah, that is one thing viOlet's very good at. We've seen time and time again, just throwing 6 or so Zerglings right outside the third base, turn them all into Banelings, you bust straight through the bunker and go right for those SCVs. It's something he's very good at. He's very diligent at going for those harassment-based pushes, but now he just needs to make sure that he doesn't take too much damage, because Polt wants to keep this creep back and then start dropping.
Just can't imagine he would though, Nate. He's even in upgrades, he has a little bit of creep spread everywhere, he's been keeping track on things that have been going on the right side of the map. 2-2 is not started yet. It did finish up for Polt, but it hasn't started yet. So if I was viOlet right now, I feel very confident. There are a couple of Widow Mines over here, so he has to be very careful as one Widow Mine does a little bit of friendly fire, but he's going to clean this up with ease, Nate. He's been so rich throughout this entirety of the game.
Yeah, he baited that Widow Mine beautifully, not able to really do anything. Is Polt next mine, gets quite a few Zerglings though, so catching a little bit of a break here, but the Banelings are still rolling up. He needs these to crush this army.
Yeah, there's so much Zerg over here. I think Polt is already in a lot of trouble. I'm not sure what there is on the low ground. If I'm viOlet right now, I'd just be ignoring this. I mean, there's only a single bunker there on the low ground. He doesn't have to go here.
Yeah, he uses the Mutas to help bust open the wall, and if these Marines try to retreat into the medevacs, then the Mutas can continue to be a huge problem. He's all over the natural expansion. Could even try to rally some units to the third base if he wanted to.
I mean, he's doing great over here, don't get me wrong, but he could have pretty much cleaned up every single SCV in that third base. He gets 15 in the natural though, and the wall is down, so that was still an absolutely great trade. 49 workers against 85. Holy hell, man. viOlet has so much freedom. 10 Mutalisk at once. 2-2 is dead even with the Terran player.
And this is a really smart move by viOlet. You shut the Terran down so much. Rebuilding that army is going to take so long. Now you get a huge number of Mutalisks. Good luck ever leaving your base, because you'll just come in, one-shot your missile turrets, and crush everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing over here on the left side. If you take a look at Polt's vision, he barely has any. He has, I believe, a single Marine there on the left bottom side. And that's all he has. He has no... Oh, that's still the Polt Viking. Of course it's the Polt Viking, you know.
He's a lonely Viking now.
Yeah, there's no...
He's the lost Viking, Roddy.
He's very lost indeed. He's a long way from home. But that's just a nightmare to play on such a large map as Cactus Valley. When you have zero map vision, zero map presence, you just know that Zerg, you know, will be the actual swarm. It will come in from every angle.
And now viOlet's going to do this to Polt forever and pick up a few more SCVs. Those engineering bays are very exposed as well. And at the same time, just trying to keep a few of those Mutalisks away from that third base. One or two of them bleed out, but it doesn't matter because he's keeping Polt contained, which means viOlet can saturate the fourth base. He can take a fifth if he wants. He can do anything.
I would really like to see him take a fifth, and I would like to see him throw down the devastation pit. There's no need for viOlet to forever stay on 2-2. He has quite a bit of money, even though he's still pumping out as many units as he can, and perhaps he just has his gear set on finishing Polt with these 2-2 upgrades. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the wrong call, because he's been in a great position, but I think he has so much freedom right now, Nate, to make at least sure that he will eventually be able to get 3-3 upgrades as well. There's nothing wrong with that move.
Yeah, a couple of these Banelings being perhaps a bit adventurous there. And some are actually going to come over to the third base. The SCVs are all stuck. Actually, viOlet's going to kill every single one trying to escape. The command center takes a lot of damage
it's
too.
It's going to go down. There's no more SCVs to repair it. That CC will go down. 16 more SCVs as well went down in the process. And there are 36 SCVs left. He's a two-base Terran right now.
Yeah, Link slip into the natural at the same time. viOlet is just brutalizing Polt, trying to deny that blue flame upgrade as he's been mixing a lot of Hellbats in with his army, and he will. And suddenly, Polt, I don't know what to say. He's stuck.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you just have absolutely no ability to attack your opponent in StarCraft II, you're often in a lot of trouble, Nate. You will almost never win a game with just defending, unless it is a very small map and you're sitting on 4 bases with a mech army or something. But there's a couple of Marines over here, but there's just no way that Polt can fight against this overwhelming amount of units from viOlet.
Yeah, I mean, Polt needs dozens of miracle Widow Mine hits to be able to make this happen. It's not going to be easy. viOlet moves the rest of the army forward. The Banelings are coming up a little bit slowly behind, and at the same time, Polt, I mean, even as cost-effectively as he could try to trade, he just doesn't have the income to rebuild anything.
These Mutas can fly into the main again as well. Look at the income, 2,400
Look at
minerals.
viOlet's bank, man.
Yeah. I mean, he has everything. He did throw down the infestation pit right now, which I'm very happy to see. Just go up for Hive. Even if you keep making nothing but Links and Banes and Mutalisks for now, just make sure you have access to those 3-3 upgrades if you would ever need them. Yeah. It's been a flawless game by viOlet. Whenever you open up, you know, if you're Polt and you open up as aggressively as you did with all these Hellions, with the medevac, with the Marines, and you kill absolutely 0 workers, you know it's going to be difficult. And of course, from that very first attack, viOlet just did phenomenal.
Yeah, when you're playing against a Zerg player that controls this well and scouts and reacts as well as viOlet has this game, that's why most Terran players go for fast 3 command center build, because it's so hard to do anything. And I mean, a couple of the mines actually get some really good detonations, but viOlet can afford to bleed out a lot.
Okay, that was not the most cost-effective trade there. All those Banelings for 2 Marauders, I believe. But just look at it. Right now, this is the 19-minute mark, and I feel that's the first medevac on the right side of the map that Polt is actually sending out. How uncharacteristic is that?
Yeah, when you consider that Polt's basically made a career out of endlessly dropping his opponents, And this Thor's going to try to be pulled back to help defend the natural expansion, but the Mutalisks will be able to clean it up as Lynx continue to nibble on those SCVs, and he hasn't even moved that drop in yet.
Oh my god, it's been an SCV massacre, man. It's been a very bad day to be an SCV. 64 against 0,
and
by the way.
Not a drone.
70 workers gone down against 0. If that's not dominating, I don't know what is, Nate.
You know, Kev, there's very few players that can say that they actually did play the game without losing any workers to Polt, of all people.
And also killed 70 of Polt in the process in return. That's just ridiculous. Polt does have +3 on the way. Still not a single drone gone down. That first medevac gets shot down, and GG. I think it's safe to say, Nate, that's about as flawless of a game of viOlet as we're going to see today.
That was pretty much perfectly played by viOlet. I mean, from every step of the way, he scouted, he defended perfectly that aggression that Polt brought. And you said it best, if you're a Terran player and you want to do a push like that, you know, sometimes they work. Sure, you can get a little bit of damage here, maybe force some roaches or some spine crawlers. But if you don't do any damage at all and do the layer upgrades and do the layer 3rd command center, you're just way, way far behind.
Perhaps a questionable decision by Polt to go for that build on Cactus Valley. We'll see what he has in store for us on map number 2 as we take a very quick break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series round of 16 Premier League. We just saw viOlet completely dismantle Polt in game number 1. I don't have any other words for that. Like he just wrecked him.
It was definitely a very one-sided affair. The second map is going to be played on Coda, Nate. And if I look back at game number 1, I feel the build that Polt went for, I think it has a lot more potential on a map like Coda, where it's just a lot easier to make your way across the map. Because whenever you go for an aggressive build, obviously time is your enemy, right? You want to hit as quick and as fast as possible. But crossing Coda with a medevac, with a few marines, with your Hellions, that just takes time. That's often the difference between facing just queens or facing queens and a bunch of Zerglings. And well, viOlet just took absolutely 0 damage.
Yeah, the map will certainly help strategies like that a lot more. We are loaded into game 2, ladies and gentlemen. In the southeast position, we have the blue Terran player currently down 0-1 in this best of 3. Can he bring it back? He's CM Storm's Polt.
On the left top side of Coda, this hasn't really been his year yet, but I agree with the boys at the desk. He's been looking a lot better lately. It is viOlet.
Good finish here in Season 3 for the World Championship Series would be really nice for viOlet, as he's been getting a little bit more to do lately. Wasn't able to really have, you know, much going for him as far as Season 2 went when it came to the end of the tournament, but he actually was in Toronto where he qualified for another tournament. He'll be playing in the finals of this month as well, in the first Archon mode tournament for Legacy of the Void. But this is, you know, good way getting his hardest swarm practicing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, viOlet has been a very successful player in the past. He has won individual tournaments. He's been successful within WCS America. But this year just hasn't really been his year yet. If you've missed a little bit of it, Season 1, viOlet lost in the round of 32. The same goes for Season 2 as well. And that's just not normally where we expect viOlet to fall off. You know, if you look at all the players that qualify for Premier League, a viOlet in shape should pretty much always make it into the quarterfinals at least. If not, it's been a disappointing performance. So to see him drop out in the round of 32 twice, well, that was kind of surprising to say the least. But and even more after you just saw him play game number 1 against Polt like that. I mean, holy hell, how does this guy lose in the round of 32, Nate?
Yeah, it was really well played. I mean, that is one of the weaknesses I think Polt has had this year, all the way back to the beginning of Season 1, where he struggled in some of the qualifiers against Kane. Was how he actually managed to get into WCS, and he's dropped series here and there. We saw him lose a map or two. Actually, I think it's series to TLO earlier in Season 2, and it's been a tough spot for him. He eventually got defeated by Hydra, and that was like, you know, that was the crowning moment for him, was to take that Season 1 championship. But now you've got Hydra coming in looking hot, and if Polt can't perform here in Terran versus Zerg, he's going to have a really hard time, I feel, versus Hydra in the lower match.
Yep, and not just that, even looking further, Nate. Of course, Polt has already collected so many WCS points that he will most likely make it to BlizzCon unless something super crazy happens. There's like an 0.1% chance or something that Polt doesn't make it to BlizzCon. But he's going to have to step it up, man. I feel in Season 1, that grand final, that was one of the best grand finals we have ever seen in StarCraft II. But that was also the best Polt we've seen this year by far. After that Season 1, Polt has not played on that level anymore, and he has to get back to that level ASAP.
Yeah, it's been a pretty topsy-turvy year. You know, you look at the way everything's kind of changed. We've had, I'd say, a lot more variety, especially in some of the maps that we've had playing in the WCS pools. You know, we've it wasn't too long ago we were on Secret Springs and Inferno pools, Roddy. A lot of crazy things happened on those maps, especially in Polt's experience.
I like how what Polt is doing over here. He kept the second Reaper at home, knowing that viOlet likes to sneak 2 or 4 Zerglings across the map, so that Reaper is going to take care of those first 2 links.
And
a very quick third command center this game,
Yes,
Nate.
I was right about to. I'm right with you on that one, Roddy. I love this, but you built it under the Overlord.
Yep, and also, Nate, that Roach Warren is going to go down immediately. It's so important for Polt. This is not a defensive Roach Warren, at least. I don't think it's going to be.
If you're viOlet, and I know viOlet loves to build these roaches. We've seen him do these pushes so much. If your Overlord sees that third command center that quickly, you're just like, oh well, of course I'm going to just build roaches. Like this is what I do.
9 roaches and a few links.
Good luck.
Yeah, and you know you're going to kill a bunch of SCVs. Of course, the big question is how many. Sometimes the game will end immediately. Sometimes you'll do insane amounts of economic damage. Sometimes it falls flat on its face, but it's very unlikely because if you look at the way that Polt is setting himself up, he has very little actual firepower to deal with roaches, and he still hasn't seen it yet. Gonna end up losing one of the Reapers as well. Man, I'm a little bit worried. He should expect this though. We know viOlet, but Polt, he's been living with the guy in the past. Like, he absolutely knows what viOlet's approach is to builds like this. So he should see this coming, but he hasn't actually seen it yet. That would have still helped him a little bit.
Yeah, it is a tad unfortunate though, Kev, because that 3 Reaper opening, just that little bit of firepower that he loses from having that Reaper die, it also delayed his factory to get that 3rd Reaper out that fast.
I feel like he needs Widow Mines, right? Like, get 2 Widow Mines out as quick as
Hellions are
possible.
not going to kill these roaches. The Reapers are going to see this, and immediately his first thought's going to be like, okay, I need mines, I need to get a tech lab, get some Marauders, and he needs to finish that wall.
It's still though, but even when this wall is finished at first, he's going to have absolutely no damage in it. How many roaches are we truly looking at? Is it 11 actually? Man, 11 roaches is going to be so tough for Polt to deal with. Now, especially because that Marauder is even so late. The Anchor Marauder, like Polt has a couple of trademark things in his playstyle. It's the Polt Viking, but it always used to be the Anchor Marauder as well. And that boy got delayed for that first Marine, and there was even a second Marine on production. I am so worried right now for Polt, Nate.
Yeah, this is a really uncomfortable spot to be in. This supply depot's not finished, so he can break this down, try to run through, forces the splash damage onto the SCVs, kills all of those, and if he wants, he can try to finish off the bunker, he can go for the Hellions, he can try to just run by and focus more SCVs. He's got a lot of options here, Kev.
Yep, there is I would probably run by. I would ignore the bunker for now. He gets all the SCVs. There is a Marauder there. I would probably go for the Marauder because that bad boy does way more damage than those Marines. And then he can get another Mew as well, and that's probably going to be it for now. But once again, if you look at the work tab, 43 against 25. Of course, the one saving grace is here that he is actually on 3 CCs already.
Yeah, I mean, as a Terran player, when you're against pushes like this, you can usually make up for worker losses as long as you don't die to it with the 3 command centers. And, you know, behind that, he also has the Star Boy. He's going to go for a fast reactor now and just move straight along into the Stimpack Marine upgrade.
Yeah, one thing I really like that viOlet. viOlet was obviously waiting for those mine shots, right? And he moved the roaches forward on purpose. He wanted it to splash on the SCVs. That was a very smart play. But he also brought his other roaches nearby, and they took a lot of splash damage, which I feel wasn't really necessary. I think if he would have pulled the other ones back, then it would have just been 1 or 2 roaches absorbing the shots, and then still doing the splash damage on the SCVs. I think that would have been a tiny bit better.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough call to make, to try to do all of this while, of course, hitting your injects back home and situating yourself for whatever follow-up you need, be it that third base, those upgrades. Because if we also look at that, his 1-1 is already healthily in production. Meanwhile, the engineering base haven't quite finished yet, and Stim is only halfway done, so he doesn't really have to worry about any big medevac pushes hitting anytime soon.
And also, he took out all the Hellions. You know, what often happens is that the roaches do quite a bit of damage, but then 6 Hellions survive. They run across the map, and they will roast 15 drones in return, and then suddenly, you know, you're kind of back to even, if not the Terran is pretty far ahead. But all the Hellions went down, so viOlet has nothing to worry about for now.
Or you turn them into Hellbats, too, and they're also useful when you go for the big push. But viOlet, I think, has done, once again, a pretty reasonable job of starting this game off. The biggest weakness is at his lair, Soleil.
I think it's very impressive that viOlet right now has been playing 29 minutes of StarCraft against Polt, and he still hasn't lost a single drone. Like, who does that?
Yeah, that's not too many people can actually say that. That's
I think I would last 3 minutes, Nate.
That's resume material right there, Roddy. His mines have gotten a good amount of lings, though. And his Viking does what Vikings do best, killing overlords.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a playable position for Polt, don't get me wrong, but he's still down 22 workers. He's not really ahead in upgrades. If anything, he's a little bit behind.
Yeah, if we talk about why this really matters, viOlet just had so many more forces than Polt did on the last map in Cactus Valley when he tried to move out. And that was all based in, you know, the damage that was done, maybe not by a roach push, but by Polt hurting himself in terms of the late third command center. And it's very similar here with just how many he killed.
It is, of course, a little bit easier to defend on Coda. It's a smaller map. It's more obvious where the forces will be coming from. And viOlet, Polt has himself set up pretty well. There's a Widow Mine here on the high ground that's going to get a reasonably good shot up over there. And there is a bunker and a little bit of a Sim City. So Polt is definitely setting himself up a lot better. Oh my god, what a cat. Yeah. 9 lives, Nate.
That transformation finishing up, giving a little bit more health to that Overseer, and helping it escape certain death. As Polt's getting a step forward, and we saw him do this on Cactus Valley as well. He moved out to the center of the map, tries to work on the creep, but needs to be careful.
I mean, viOlet was saving up for a while, I kind of felt. He started 2-2 immediately. That's very ambitious. Boy. He's going to go for a counterattack as well. Like, this is all cute, and he might get a couple of SCVs, but look at the army supply, man. I'm actually a little bit worried for viOlet right now, because he's on 33 army supply. These banelings did absolutely nothing. Very well done by Polt, but Polt not paying attention to the other side of the map.
Oh, okay, I was really worried about that mine hit getting all the banelings. viOlet definitely doesn't want to lose those. You're very right, though, Kev. He doesn't have that much army supply at all.
If he would have picked up those units, I think if Polt would have collected everything and then marched across the map, it would have been extremely difficult for viOlet to hang in. But viOlet cleaning up a couple of these bio units. Where are the Overseers, by the way, man? Okay, finally. Sure. Oh, getting these 3 mines right before the reinforcements arrive, that's a very nice little pickup as well.
How many banelings does he have? This actually is really bothering me. There's only one. He's just now starting 8 more.
And I don't like that position where he's morphing them at all. Scan goes down. Polt will spot 1 baneling morphing. Of course, he has no idea what's behind that. But that's actually a very risky position to morph them. Imagine if he would have lost those 8 banelings.
If Polt had actually stepped forward right there and just focused on the banelings with his Marines and let the Hellbats shoot the links, he might have actually been able to kill him there.
No, I still kind of like viOlet's position. Good scan there by Polt. He will identify that there is indeed a 4th base already, even though it's not really saturated yet. There's also a macro hatchery near the 3rd base, so a lot of production for viOlet. He's going to be able to produce links and banelings and mutas for days, the way that we know viOlet, the way that he loves to play StarCraft. And once again, his upgrades are ahead of the upgrades of Polt.
Yeah, it's nothing too drastic, but I will say this, engagement-wise, Polt's had a bit more luck. He hasn't taken that serious critical damage we talked about in terms of the Mutalisks knocking down SCVs or banelings.
This is such trademark viOlet, though. He's running around, he's trying to intercept reinforcements, he's trying to not fight the army straight up. That one Widowmine could get a phenomenal shot there, but it's not. Polt has to raise his depots. Whoa, both players kind of distracted over there. That could have been a lot worse. The bunker is quite low, though, so perhaps these links will still be able to get in. But even this is already so good, because now viOlet can engage the army on the north side of the map, and that's exactly what he does. So smart, man. This is great Zerg play.
Completely cut off the Lings and Banelings swarm over. Now the medevacs are able to retreat the most expensive components of that army, but Polt You want to march down the map and kill the 4th base. That's always the primary target at this stage of the game in Terran versus Zerg.
Polt is still not able to attack, Nate, and whenever you're not attacking, you're just in general not doing that well in StarCraft II. It's very hard to win if you're just never really doing any economic damage or any pressure even on those bases.
However, I will say this, Kev, the creep spread is not really that threatening, and I do think that with Polt's control, he still has a really big opportunity because he didn't lose as much of his army in this game, and all it's really going to come down to, I think, is just big splitting for him and keeping those Marines away from the Banelings.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this engagement for viOlet. I think it's very questionable, unless the Banelings have absolutely phenomenal connections. Instead, the majority of them actually blew up on the Tor. That was a bad engagement for viOlet.
You need that creep, and even so, viOlet couldn't really take a fight at the tower or even at his own 5th base area because the creep spread is just barely by his 3rd.
Yep, he still has a lot of production though, so he's able to produce so many links at once. He's on 75 drones, so his economy is very healthy, but that was a questionable engagement to say the least.
Yeah, I really think it would have been better to sit back, try to get some creep out, but viOlet perhaps feeling a bit overconfident in that position.
And look at the army supply, man, 97 against 56, holy hell, that's so good for Polt. Polt should be able to get a very good fight over here. A couple of Banelings will morph just in the nick of time, get connected with Hellbat, but now the reinforcements start to arrive, and viOlet really needs to get a real army together. It just always feels like he's not really ready to fight the army of Polt.
Yeah, a lot of those Banelings actually detonated on Marauders too, so Polt getting the best trades possible, and he's built up such a healthy medevac count, he never lost any in any of these fights.
Nope. viOlet's going to try to counterattack once more, or at least try to intercept some reinforcements, and I think that's kind of smart, because viOlet needs a little bit of time for himself, man. Getting a Tor over here, that would be great. I really wonder what Polt is going to do, if he's going to... Man, these armies are just ignoring each other. It's like a Zerglings, have a nice day, you know, go ahead and run on in. Mutalisk will take care of these Hellbats. What is Polt going to do with his main army? He's going to go for a base, so he wants to do economic damage over here, because viOlet is doing a lot of that on the other side of the map.
This is really good for viOlet if he can just hold on a little bit more back here. A couple of those Banelings do connect on Marines. He's cleaned up the SCVs and the natural. He's getting a bit of work done. The Mutas are going to have to leave at some point, though. If he gets this command center, this would be huge.
This time he's not going to get it, but did quite a bit of damage to it, and he did postpone that 4th command center, so that's something. But there is one thing. Yeah, exactly. That 3-3 is more than halfway done now. And how many games haven't we seen in the past where Polt is kind of hanging in there, or maybe even like doing all right, and the moment 3-3 kicks in against the lay attack Zerg, I mean, that's where Polt has truly made a name for himself and won like 4 championships in a row back then.
I think a lot of Terrans have won championships off of 3-3 versus 2-2, Roddy.
Even Bjorn back then, you know, in WCS America Season 3 against Jaedong as well. All those games, it always came down to Polt having 3-3 and the Zergs back then not going up to Hive, not having 3-3.
But even still, viOlet has done such a good job of pulling Polt back off of that 4th base. He's given him time to situate himself, to get more Banelings, to get more links. I don't think he's actually put too many more drones onto that 4th base. And no gas is being mined from there. So he doesn't have, you know, the monster economy, but you know, he's still doing the best that he can with this.
There are 3 Tors in the mix, and that makes it kind of complicated, I guess, for these Banelings to get the detonations that they want. Polt is going to be able to take his 4th base for now. And I kind of feel like you said, by the way, like viOlet played phenomenal in game number 1, but the creep spread here is absolutely lacking a little bit. He should have done a better job with it. He had quite a bit of freedom to do it multiple times as well. We saw some great creep spread in the previous days by Zenster, man. Zenster had the entire map covered.
Yeah, and viOlet's actually just going to try to move in on this army with just Banelings, but all the Marines are behind everything. Like, okay, now he moves in, kills the command center and some SCVs. He's getting a bit of work done here, and now the Muta's hitting the 3rd base, so viOlet's saying, I'll just trade Banes for command centers.
Well, that was actually not bad. I really thought it was like, no way he's ever going to be able to get a good trade there, but he got the planetary fortress, so that's something. And again, 11 SCVs. Once more, viOlet killed 36 workers now in this game. He has killed over 100 workers of Polt in this series. Still hasn't lost a single drone himself. But the moment that Polt is going to max out right now, Nate, look at the army supply at the moment. 135.
Yeah.
He still has 21 free army supply. I don't see how viOlet is going to clean up that army with 2-2 against 3-3 unless Banelings have the absolute dream connections of the century.
Yeah, he's going to just try to move things forward. I like that he actually has the Overlords baiting out the Thor shots, but even still, there's still 3 of them up front. He's actually got some SCVs repairing, and as many SCVs as these Mutalisks may kill, the army has to somehow clean this up. The Marines are running behind the Thors once again.
1 Tor has gone down already. 2nd Tor going down. This is very uncharacteristic. All Tors go down, well, there are so many medevacs to pick them up, Nate.
Still
That's
13.
Not something I normally see from
Still
Polt.
13, 15 Banelings. Now, if they clean this army of Marines up, and they will, Polt is slowly losing steam. He has 32 SCVs.
Wow, yeah, this is actually terrible. I cannot believe Polt just lost all of his stores there. That's so uncharacteristic. This command center will finish up just in time. So that's something. Otherwise, if those Lynx would have been able to get a cancel on it, that would have been disastrous. Almost game over
There's
even.
a lot of mules saved up on these bases. A lot of Marines here just going to step away from these Banelings, trying to run off. Bit adventurous here. Lynx actually come in from both sides. Just needs 1 or 2 more of these Banelings to connect, and the Mutas can help clean
viOlet
up.
overextending a little bit over here. viOlet, you did great in the previous minutes, but that was a little too much. You got a little bit ahead of yourself.
He's got to spend his money. He's got 1K, 1.6 in the bank, and not many Banelings left actually. No Banelings right now.
Nope. Polt's probably a little bit worried as well. He's like, man, I keep losing my fourth base. I really need this fourth base.
He does have the mule hammer dropping though, about 6-7 mules. So he's going to be a rich boy again very soon, but not off the back of SCVs.
Polt really has to make something happen real soon. Of course, if he gets that fourth base, that's nice. He does have those 3-3 upgrades, so that's something he could fall back on. A lot of his medevacts are very low in energy, by the way, but it's just he's gonna run out of bases real soon. He's been dropping a lot of mules in his natural. He's been dropping a lot of mules at his third base, and once again, he still just hasn't done any economic damage. And I don't mean he's done a little. Oh, actually, he killed 2. Yeah. When did that happen, Nate?
Well, I actually didn't see that. There's my condolences to the family of those 2 drones, the only drones to have died.
What were the odds, Nate? What were the odds?
To be one of those 2 drones out of the hundreds of workers. 23 Banelings being added. And I think for viOlet, this is the best move. When your opponent's this weak, you just want to keep massing up Banelings, and if you take one good fight, Polt does not have the income necessary to replace this army.
Look at the army supply though. Hell, viOlet really needs to spend his money. Like you said, he has 800 minerals, 1700 gas. viOlet, you need to do something with it real soon. Polt has 126 army supply.
Running into blue flame hellbats in a planetary. I mean, if those were all Banelings, I agree, Roddy. He's got to spend that money, get that cash in somewhere.
I mean, he has a lot of Banelings. There are 50 Banelings currently on the map, and that's great. But viOlet really needs to start catching up in army supply, unless Polt doesn't move his army over here, and he's not doing it.
Yeah, they just sit there and die. The Banelings swallow up absolutely everything here. Polt is a lonely Thor now with these medevacs. He still has the 4th base there. These Mutalisks are still trying to be annoying.
He still has a lot of army supply, but I kind of wonder where it is. There are 46 Marines on the map. A couple of them are in the natural, and I guess that's pretty much it. It's a little bit deceiving because he has 13 medevacs, which of course can be good. Once again, though, Nate, I'm so surprised. Like, if you would have removed the name tag here, I wouldn't have said we're watching a game of Polt over here. There's just no aggression ever. That's the first medevac, this time at the 26-minute mark, the very first medevac that's flying across the map. That's not how we know Polt.
Now, I will say it's very important that he was able to grab that 4th base, but still needs to be super careful. If viOlet knocks that down, recovering from that sort of economic loss at this stage would really cripple him. He's so few SCVs.
If Polt loses this Planetary Fortress, then it's almost over with his economy. He has 29 SCVs left. This is a very questionable engagement by viOlet. He got a couple of Marines over there, but off creep, it's very hard to roll up a ramp near a Planetary Fortress. And meanwhile, I do believe that the Marines and that one drop got a cancel on that hatchery over there, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, violet's actually mined out his main and his natural. His third base is getting very low, and he doesn't have mules, so he's actually starting to float a lot of gas.
Yeah, army supply is still heavily in favor of Polt. Like, it kind of feels that viOlet has been dominating this game, but he's not doing crucial damage.
Yeah, he's been making a lot of good moves, but he doesn't have much to show for it. Like, he never maxed out and went for a big head-on fight. He just kind of like bled out a few units here, bled out a few units there. And I wouldn't even mind like a big mass muta play to just keep crushing into that main and hold Polt back.
Absolutely. It's going to be very difficult, especially off creep, to get good connections with those banelings. Polt wasn't paying attention once, but that shouldn't happen anymore. What's the Marine count currently? We're looking at 35 Marines, so I guess the only thing that Polt is waiting for right now is a couple of those mules to go to town. There we go, we just see them fall down. Just collect a couple of minerals and make that Marine count go up to 60, 70, 80. And then I do think that viOlet is in a lot of trouble. Like you mentioned, Nate, never had a fifth base and just... He's floating so much gas.
Imagine if he adds 23 mutas to this army, or even, you know, another, I guess if you want to add another 40 banelings, that's one way to do it, but Mutalisks would really be a great tool to hold Polt back, because now that he's going to start inching forward again, I mean, he does have some creep here since it's at his base, but if he loses a fight, I actually think Polt has a very good chance of taking this game.
I mean, look at the army supply. Normally we would be like counting down this game, but for some reason it just hasn't really felt like it. But even though Polt hasn't been very, you know, charismatic, I guess, like this hasn't been a traditional Polt game, it still looks extremely good for him right now. He's up 78 army supply in this phase in the game. That should normally be easily enough to just move forward, throw down a scan, clean up some creep, and then just go for it, man, because his army should be overwhelming compared to the army of viOlet. viOlet, like you said, he doesn't have a whole lot to show for what he has done.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to Polt playing so methodically, so slowly, because he knows that if he loses it all at once, he's done. But he can trade away little bits here and there. Put a couple of these units up front, put a Marauder up there and say, yeah, let those Banelings hit it.
There was just that one fight in the middle of the map where I felt viOlet lost way too much after he done such a great drop. And, you know, picking up a couple of these turrets. One more turret will get picked up. A couple of Banelings get reasonable hits. Both turrets go down. So now it's just a single turret remaining. But viOlet is broke as a joke. You've mentioned it before. He has a lot of gas, 2,800 gas. How on earth does viOlet have 2,800 gas when he never even took his 7 and 8 gas? I guess that's just what happens where you never make any Mutalisk, you never go up to Hive, you never make Infestus or Ultras, but it's still a crazy thing to see, Nate.
And he's not really playing around the tech tree a whole lot, that's for sure. He's continuing to try to trade against these small groups of units, but the power of 3-3 bio is just so strong. Yep. You'd think that 71 drones, the 31 SCVs, he'd be able to outproduce Polt.
I mean, yeah, Funka's showing us as well, the unit lost resource depth.
He's thrown away so much.
Lost 16,000 more. You know, Banelings are great, but you need to do more than just trade them out against Hellbats, Marauders, and Taurs, and once in a blue moon get a couple of Marines, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, viOlet just doesn't have the army to stop him. GG, Polt ties up the series, not going down without a fight here in a World Championship Series. And just a kind of awkward game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like you mentioned it on the last map on Cactus Valley where you said, okay, viOlet has reached that point where he's in a comfortable stage. Just go up to Hive. And I felt like there was that moment. He was at about 160 supply. He had that 1.5 in the bank. Drop the Infestation Pit, sit back, add mutas, and just hold your opponent back. Hold Polt into his base. But, you know, he decided he wanted to try to, I guess, end the game with those Baneling pushes, and it was just way, way too reckless.
There were a couple of moments where it got very close to things snowballing out of control, right? Like, he got a lot of SCVs, got the fort base, but then just 2 times he rolls up a ramp, lost a lot of Banelings, or took that fight in the middle of the map, and like the 10 Mutalisks suddenly turned into 4 Mutalisks.
Yeah, that was...
All they had the Banelings connected with Marauders and Hellbats, so it wasn't flawless, but I think at the end of the day, there's only one way to summon it up. A little bit of an awkward, crazy game over there. Game number 3, I believe, is going to be played on Terraform. We're going to head over to a very small break, and after that we'll be back with a decided game between viOlet and Polt.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series. You're watching the round of 16 here at the Premier League, and we're about to go into game number 3 between CM Storm's Polt and Team Envy's viOlet.
We were discussing that previous game still a little bit in the break, and I feel there was one more moment, Nate, which was very crucial. You remember when those Lynx ran up to that fort base after he already killed it once, and there was that one SCV, you know, that just finished it, you know, just in the nick of time. Like, imagine if the SCV doesn't complete that command center.
It's happened so many times where you're like trying to get that expansion up, and the SCV dies right before he takes the wrapping off.
Yeah,
you know?
just the wrapping paper is on. It says 100 out of 100, but it's not done yet. Those Lynx would have cancelled that command center, and then I think Polt would have truly been in a lot of trouble.
Then I think it's 100% over. It's been a crazy series so far. Hopefully you're all enjoying today's broadcast. We are loaded into map number 3 here for our second series, spawning in the northwest as the Blue Terran from CM Storm. He's Polt.
And on the right bottom side of Terraform, we're looking at the main base of our hyper-aggressive Zerg. It is viOlet. Violet's been scoring some points among the Polish fans, Nate.
Yeah.
What a little bit of Google Translate can do for your career.
Yeah, maybe, maybe he's been walking around checking out the, I don't know, whatever there is to see, trying to learn a little bit of Polish himself. That doesn't hurt to assimilate a little bit into the places you go and see. It's part of the experience.
So how much Polish have you been learning this weekend, Nate?
Ask me later, Kev.
The only Polish Nate knows is the Wi-Fi password.
Something like that.
All right, curious to see what we'll see on Terraform. This is one of the maps that they have played last time as well. It was a map where Polt went up to 3 command centers very first. And when I say last time, I mean in the previous tournament. These two players clashed, which is barely 2 weeks ago. Polt went for 3 CCs very quickly, and viOlet just kind of shoved a lot of roaches in his face with +1 carapace. So it was slightly different than what we saw in the previous map. You know, it hits a little bit later, but hits a lot harder as well because the roaches have speed and they've got an armor upgrade. I like viOlet's playstyle, don't get me wrong, like the counter-attacking, the intercepting, the reinforcements. I think it's very fun to watch. It creates very dynamic games, action-packed games. It's all good, but there has to be, you know, an end game plan, right? And I felt on Coda there wasn't really any.
No, he didn't have any follow-ups to any of his moves because, you know, we talked about this on Cactus Valley. I think you said it at the perfect time. It's like, okay, just sit back, get your infestation pit, don't push it when you're this far ahead, because all you can really do is throw from that position. And I think when viOlet had 160 supply, had a massive bank, and Polt had 30 SCVs, that's a really good time to just switch to something else because Polt doesn't have money to transition.
And once again, Nate, what I'm very surprised by, of course you're more experienced in the TVZ matchup than I am, as we see a couple of links march across the map. That's interesting. He's going to try to avoid the Reaper. Might actually get a console on the command center.
Yeah, he's going to build on the low ground, it looks like.
Where's the Reaper going to go? Will the Reaper... How are your spider senses today, Polt?
Oh, boy.
Well, they're good, but not that good. Nope. Oh? No, he's just
sad boys today. Well, he does have the second Reaper, and
yeah,
you know, wherever he rallies, this will still be very crucial because a cancel, even just a slight delay, will force a supply block on the Terran player when they're trying to go for Hellions.
Polt spots that there is a Queen out immediately, so I guess he kind of knows what time it is over here. Second Reaper is going to run straight into these links. I don't think it's going to be a cancel, Nate, but he's going to be able to delay it for quite a bit.
Yeah, and even that can be enough. It will force the Terran player to be supply blocked for a little bit when they go for those Hellions, and that delays the follow-up. It's very important. Killing the SCV is really nice. The Reaper forced to micro backwards. Not a fun place to be.
Wow, there are 2 links in the main base. That link actually spot the command center immediately. What a happy little circling over there. I have no idea how he made it past that supply depot, but he did. Eventually, Polt will be able to clean this up, but I think this was relatively successful for viOlet. Not the dream scenario. The dream scenario is that you get a cancel, but it was okay.
Yeah, that I would okay. I'll give you that. That's the dream. I still think this was really good for him because he kept the Reapers at home. He scouted the 3rd command center, and he delayed the naturals. So, like, this is for viOlet. Yeah, not the dream, but still a really solid way to start off because this also allows his other queens to finish, and now he really has a good answer for all these Reapers that are on the map.
But what I want to ask you, Nate, in the previous map, I was very surprised that we saw viOlet not just at so much gas, but that he just wow, that's really good. Man, these guys, they just won't let us analyze game number 2. Like, good job there, of course, by Polt sniping those creep tumors. That's going to make it a little bit harder for viOlet to spread creep, and that's something he's been lacking in the previous game. But to finish up my thought, why didn't he make more Mutalists, Nate? That's so common in the matchup. Why did he refuse to make more Mutas?
I was wondering the same thing myself. I guess it just comes down to the way that he wanted to play was just too aggressive. Like, he wanted to just build Lings and Banes and just win, I imagine. It's hard sometimes to finish the game versus a Marine-based army when you only have Mutas. But I do agree, if he had put another 10 Mutas on the map and he just sits the way... Because he did it in Cactus Valley. Like, he came in, he kept knocking down the main base missile turrets, he just held them back.
Exactly, he made way more Mutas.
Yeah, and I think that's the ideal way to play this matchup, especially when your opponent is broke. Like, if he's spending every mineral he gets on Marines because he has 30 SCVs, he can't really build missile turrets.
I mean, viOlet is a very, very experienced Zerg, but this is still a very big series. Could have been a little bit of nerves that he just thought, like, I can actually end this game, and I want to end it right here, right now?
I'd have to imagine. So you're up 1-0, you're like, okay, well, you know, I want to risk it, you know?
Okay. A good micro so far on the Reapers by Polt. He keeps most of them alive, and he gets 2 out of 3 queens. Once again, this is the same build, by the way, just at +1 carapace with roaches. This is something that viOlet did against Polt on this map already, so Polt definitely no stranger against this. Scan goes down. He's maybe saw 1 roach there, but he saw the gas was missing.
I think he should have an inkling that this is happening, because it's just 1 evolution chamber.
That's wiggling.
There's no carapace or melee timing that you do with Zerglings or even Banelings. It's always 1-1. So if there's a lair already done, he has to imagine that the Roach is on the way. He also didn't see a second gas in the main, so it can't be mutas.
And once again, this is the exact same build as that viOlet used, you know, 2 weeks ago. So Polt is still probably thinking about that series. It's not something you forget. Yeah, so he's going to be much more ready for it as well. First Marauder already halfway done. Should be pretty good news for Polt and all the Polt fans out there.
Yeah, you can really see Polt does not want to play versus Hydra.
And that, once again, that could have made perhaps viOlet a little bit nervous in that second series. Like, this series is bigger than it already was. You know, the winner of this match will move on to play against Elaser. And as phenomenal as Elaser played in his first series of the day, I'm sure that both Polt and viOlet are very confident that they can take Elaser out.
Yeah, that's I would agree with you 100%
Second tank
there,
even,
Kev.
by the way, Nate.
I don't think that this map is actually bad for tank pushes. Like, it's kind of interesting to think about, but tanks really have fallen out of TVZ a lot. But if you're playing versus someone that loves roaches as much as viOlet, and you have maps like this where there's so many choke points, I actually really like siege tanks.
Do you like the position of the siege tank? I kind of wish he would have put it a little further back, or okay,
it's not within range of the wall.
SCVs.
And the way I look at it is it's not in range of the wall, so your SCVs repair, but they actually came back to auto repair the command center from the early harass. As long as the bunker stays up, keep it up. It's very low. Okay, so he breaks it open. The Marauders are going to try to hold this. He has to let the SCVs fight to try to hold them back, and the rest of the siege tank from the second one in the back is going to help clean it up.
He's not really focusing the tank. I guess he was going for the Marauders. Got a couple of SCVs there, but I feel that's definitely not good enough for viOlet.
No.
He needed to do way more than that. This is an interesting follow-up, though. There's Thundering Claws and Burrow on the way, but like you said, Nate, these Hellions in the main base, they might be able to do some serious economic damage for the first time in this series, by the way, for Polt.
For the first time in this series, we have a drone dying in the first 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, you know, pretty damn successful, I'd say. 6 drones, 7 drones gone down, and of course all of these drones were not mining. I'd be very happy with that. Polt must feel great about this game right now.
Yeah, if you look at the state of the tech, right, we have Burrow, Move, and obviously Burrow coming in. So the Roaches can do a little bit of sharking around. However, if Polt recognizes what the natural follow-up for this type of play should be, and that should be some sort of Burrow play, because honestly, mutas won't come anytime soon, and missile turrets are still good against them, just build some turrets.
Yep, well, first turret is going to go up, and these roaches will get spotted immediately, and that's very, very unfortunate news for viOlet. Like, what are you even going to do right now? You've just revealed your build. Polt is going to look at that. He's like, hey man, I think my army can fight this. I've got 4 or 5 Marauders in the mix over here. Another scan is going to go down, and that's a couple of roaches for free. Great play so far by Polt in this game. He's been all over it, Nate. This is the Polt that we normally see in WCS round of 16.
Yeah, if he had another scan, he probably could have killed every last one of these roaches. Some of them are going to try to run away, but yeah, Roddy, I have to agree. Decision-making has been on point this map for Polt.
Polt has taken this base, by the way, in the last 3 or 4 TVZs I've seen of him. Still slightly uncommon, right?
Yeah, I don't mind it personally. Maybe it's a bit worse against viOlet because he does like roaches and hydralisks, but against a normal Ling Bane Zerg, you have to manually detonate Banelings across the minerals to actually kill anything.
Oh, oh man.
2 guys lost.
Oh, they were safe. Private Ryan is safe, Nate.
Yeah.
And his brother.
School bus turned around.
They never mentioned Ryan's brother, but he was dead.
He was there too. We have Combat Shields finishing up. The first Hydralisk is going to make their way into the field, so it will actually be a straight-up Roach Hydra game. This actually plays into what Polt's already doing, which is building siege tanks and Marauders.
I think that viOlet is extremely unhappy with the position that he's currently in, and I guess he's just trying to make the best of it. What you're hoping for right now is that the Terran moves out a little too early, and that you can get a dream engagement, just pick up the tanks, maybe pick up the tanks before they're even sieged up, and then just like somehow muster your way through that wall of bio. But if Polt takes his time and he just moves out with a 2-2 upgrades, 170, 180 supply, I don't really see how Roach Hydra is going to be able to come out victorious.
No, if you're a Terran, I would say the magic number is usually 160, 170 supply. Polt is at that number of supply, and the siege tanks do make it a little bit tricky since them fighting unsieged. They're way less cost effective and less supply effective against this army, but still, that advantage in supply is massive.
And there is no Infestors, yeah. There is no Vipers on the way for a viOlet.
I think Polt can actually just push once he maxes.
I mean, just pure Roach Hydra is definitely not good enough. We've seen some Zergs, especially Hyun, I think, has been becoming very good with making fights happen with Roach Hydra, where I kind of feel, hey, Roach Hydra is really supposed to fall off right now, and then suddenly he gets miraculous engagements because of Blinding Clouds, because of Fungal Growth, and then you can still win fights, but just Roach Hydra, I think you're going to have an extremely hard time against the way that this game is going, and especially the units that Polt is currently working with.
Yeah, with this many siege tanks and no hive tech, no Vipers especially, it's pretty clean cut, straightforward. You move in, you get the tanks on the left side of that center blocker, and you just move the bio across.
I mean, we always say, right, whenever a Zerg player is playing this style, even when it's up 20, 30, 40 supply, we say like, well, don't look too much into that because roaches are supply ineffective. It's a little bit deceiving, you know, this game is actually a lot closer than it looks. Polt is right now has been up 20, 30 supply throughout the entirety of this game while playing against roaches, while being ahead in upgrades with his bio. They're even right now, but 3-3 is on the way. Like, viOlet, you really need to have an additional plan. Just Roach Hydra. Yeah, okay, that's kind of nice. Roach Hydra is from the other side of this mineral line.
I think Polt's being a little bit too patient here. Some of these roaches are going to jump up and clean up the drop that he has on the southeast side, pushing that back. The Hydra's maybe trying to get a tap here in. But if these armies engage head-to-head, Polt's army should just annihilate him. I'm surprised Polt is playing this. I guess he's scared of a base trade. If I was Polt, the only thing I'm really worried about is moving out on the map and the Roach Hydra just trying to base trade me and pull me home.
+2 missile attacks is just now going down. And take a look at the income, by the way, of viOlet. Right now he's on 1700 minerals and he has no gas. It's a reverse scenario of what happened on Coda. I feel like overall there hasn't been a very solid balance between the way that he wants to spend his gas and minerals.
Yeah, it's he built a lot of Hydras early on. He dumped all his gas into there, so he actually can't just max straight into the roaches. And here we go, he's doing that thing. He's trying to pull him back. He's got in a position where he can kind of pincer him outside the sensor tower.
He's right-clicking on that orbital command. Is he actually going to be able to get it? No, he won't. This is being lifted off. He's going to try to do something over there on the left side, but this is a massive drop in the main base, and viOlet is absolutely not ready for that. So instead, he's going to try to shove his army into these tanks, but that can't possibly go that well either.
Siege tanks are pretty good at stopping Roach Hydra pushes, Roddy, and this army has been thwarted. The big drop of the main kills the lair. GG is called, and Polt recovers from a very sloppy game one to move on to the winner's match, where he will face Elaser.
And a very rough start in game number 2 as well. Overall, very good series. I enjoyed it.
Very well played there by Polt as he picks up a victory over viOlet. And a lot of people thought viOlet was going to come into this to pick up the victory, Todd, but it was Polt that came out the winner.
Yeah, I guess he did what he had to in the end. It started a little bit shaky, but picked up along the way. And in that last map, just, I guess, the solid performance we expect out of good old Polt.
Yeah, and he definitely looked a bit shaky, though. I mean, as much as he won the series, it wasn't as clean as he would have liked it to have been.
It's like a micro environment of Polt in a tournament, though. Like, the first game was kind of rough. It was not what we expect from Polt. And then as the series went on, he got better and better.
Well, how do you judge him overall from looking at that? Do you kind of agree with Jeff there that it wasn't ideal for him and that we should be expecting a lot more from Polt?
Definitely. I think Polt is definitely one of those guys that picks up the pace and along the way. Even in Season 1 when he won, there was a few series where we thought he was really, really close. He was in danger. But then as, I guess, time passed by, he looked more and more impressive. Even in that grand finals that he played against Hydra back then. It really waited until the last moment, until it was really time to start bringing it to finally do that.
viOlet versus Hydra in elimination match on Thursday tomorrow.
And he's already lost his ZvT to a laser, who is at least supposedly not of those guys' caliber. So Hydra to go, I mean, he went from runner-up to first, and I guess the only place after you win the tournament to go is straight down to the bottom.
Yeah, this is not an ideal position to be in. We do have the last game to have a quick look at for you guys at home to break some of it down for you. So we're loading into map number 3, and we saw a dedicated strategy from viOlet, Jeff, that just didn't do what it was intended to.
No, anytime a Zerg goes roaches, they need to do tremendous damage. I really like what the guys at the desk were talking about. We heard Rotterdam kind of say, just getting a few SCVs here, not really what he needed to do. And we'll see that in a second as we can kind of speed it up to the bunker. He jumps in and gets on top of it really quick, and it's like, oh gosh, maybe he cracks this open. But if you look behind this, he's already building drones, so this is not a sustained all-in by any means. And getting a few SCVs, not killing the tank, the second one in the background murdering this, it just set him so far behind.
The thing about this push is that this is pretty much the same thing that viOlet did last time when they played on this map in Seattle. And back then, he did so much damage. He killed a ridiculous amount of SCVs in the 20s, 30s plus, and then he was just so far ahead. So in this case, Polt made the proper adjustments from their previous series, defended perfectly, and then even had the Hellion counterattack here.
And this is a nice move here too, getting in there, getting a few kills. It's just 7 drones, but at this point in time when a Zerg just really wants to be pumping out drones purely, it's really rough. I even want to roll this back a little bit more though. I don't know if Funkin can get there, but what I really liked about this was Polt, very early on in this game, actually leaned out. It was 3 CC, which is economically greedy, but with his Reapers and his Hellions, not only did he get intel that he's facing roaches, he actually did decent damage, and that's like, that is absolutely ridiculous to be able to do that in the face of a pseudo all-in while going 3 CC.
And when a game plays out like this, you go into cruise mode, which we can move into the next part of this, Todd, is when you take no damage against an assault, he sat back and then made a killing move, which ended off viOlet.
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, when you know that the Zerg player is on lair, he's only going to be getting roaches and Hydralisk. All you have to do is max start, and you've won the game. So that's exactly what Paul did. He kind of sat back, even made a sensor tower, which I think is kind of funny. You know, he's like, I can see you coming. There's nothing you can do. And in this case, he just sits back with tanks, with enough bio to defend anything. viOlet, he tries to find one of the only way he can do some damage with a multi-pronged attack, but gets counter-dropped, and then he just dies.
Yeah, an absolutely wonderful drop there.
He was happy to be on equal bases. He had the, I mean, as we saw here, this counterattack, it should be on paper some kind of base trade because there's so much supply of Polt inside the main going uncontested over on viOlet's half the map, but because tanks are so strong in that position, he actually was able to murder the army and counterattack.
Just great composure overall there from Polt, understanding where he was in the game, what he needed to do, and how to execute it.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Too bad it won't matter against the European Zergs.
That's right, because he goes through to the winners match, which we can take a quick look at the bracket. Polt will play again today. viOlet must wait until tomorrow, where he goes up against Hydra. As we can see here on screen, a laser against Polt. And for some, obviously, getting behind a laser, it's good to know that a laser said backstage he would have preferred to play against Polt.
Yeah.
So he's got his wish.
Sat in the audience, watched this ZvT. I mean, viOlet's a little bit of a different kind of player. He was, even in the other games, very aggressive, like never more than 9 Mutalisk, but just pure Baneling aggression. But who knows? Maybe a laser got some ideas. He definitely saw how Polt reacts to that kind of stuff. He's got great intel.
Well, the laser's taken down 1 champion so far. The Season 2 champion. Can he take down the Season 1 champion? It's going to be a game to watch.